actually going to talk about invoices. We're going to go over essentially how to make an invoice, the basic items and figures surrounding an invoice, as well as what you can do once an invoice is on the account. So for today, we're just going to go ahead and select one of our accounts. I'm going to go with this one here. And we are going to essentially go through the basics of making an invoice from this screen. You can also make an invoice over here by clicking the plus button. It will do the same thing we're about to do here in a second, which is just going over to this plus button and selecting New Invoice. Alright, as you can see, we are on a new invoice screen, and this is an invoice draft. So keep in mind you can save drafts. Those will not issue to a customer until you go back to them later and save and issue them. Here at the top, you can see that the customer is already filled in. That's because we selected to add an invoice from the customer page. If you do decide to create an invoice from the plus button that usually appears at this little invoice section, this will be blank, and you will need to type in the customer, or at least some figures, to get to the customer that you're looking to send the invoice to. Invoice number, so that is going to be this little box over here right under invoice. Now this will populate in a generalized format. Our format usually is like 001, 002, 003, etc. This section is for if you have a very specific invoice number cadence that your company uses. You can put that in here, and that will become the invoice number. Here you have the issue date. This can be today, can be any day in the future. Essentially, this will determine the date that's issued out to the customer, and then the rest of everything will follow based on their payment terms, which we're about to get into here. Now, most customers have payment terms attached to their profile. It will default to those if that is the case. If not, you can select one here. Essentially, net is going to be, how long from the issue date do they have before the bill is considered past due. So for example, if we select net 7, we'll just do that this time. This bill will come due in 7 days, past due. At which point they will need to go ahead and either pay it, or they will get late fees or past due notice, depending on what you have set up on their customer profile. Now, before we get down to the bottom, let's look at the options here. The title of the invoice, this will appear on the PDF. Usually you just want to leave this as invoice unless you want to specifically put down, say, the customer's name. So you can just go ahead and put Acme invoice, and that's what they'll see on the PDF. Currency. So we have multi-currency turned on. When you do, you can use this drop-down on any new invoice. So if our customer happens to use a different currency other than the one that is our base currency, you can select that here for this specific invoice. Late fees, it's pretty self-explanatory. If this is toggled on, then when they become past due, the late fee cadence that you have set up will take effect. And calculate taxes. This is just going to, calculate out the total taxes, and is a toggle for you are taxing the customer. You'll turn that off in the event that you are either just for some reason not taxing the customer, or if they are tax exempt, then that would be your primary reason for turning that off. Okay, let's take a moment to talk about items. So if you look down here, you can see there's already one line item, because it by default is going to require at least one line item in order to create the invoice. with how it's currently set up, as you were seeing before you even look at this button, you can just type in any kind of service for your customer. So you can just put one service. You can give it a quantity, give it an amount, so like $20, and it fills in everything there. Type. This is just another field as far as if you want to specify to your customer, specifically what they're being paid, charged for. Here, as you can see, you can add in different things as far as an individual discount and individual taxes. Now, something to keep in mind is that you can tax line items, or you can do a total tax subtotal at the bottom. You cannot do both. So just keep that in mind, that you cannot discount and tax on items and the subtotal, because that will be essentially double taxing your customer. The system will require you to pick only one. Now, you may have items already set up. That's going to be covered kind of in a different section, but essentially items are in settings and under items. If you do, you can click this plus item button and a list of your available line items will appear here. Now, just make things a little bit faster if you don't want to type in every single item. Again, subtotal, you can put tax and discounts in this location. The same deal if you have multiple taxes, you hit add tax. It's going to bring up a list of your taxes. Same thing for discounts. As you can see, it calculates the total, so you'll have an idea of what your customer is going to see when they receive their invoice PDF. Over here is a notes section. Keep in mind that this section is for notes that are going to appear internally on your end. So this is notes to, say, if your customer is in QuickBooks, you might want to go ahead and just type in that they're synced in QuickBooks as well. So that would be a good use here for this. But this note section, this is not going to appear on the PDF. The customer is not going to see this. And then lastly, down here you have attached files. This can really be anything that you need to send in addition to the customer, whether it's some kind of PDF, image in regards to the services. Just keep in mind that you will have to still select when you send the email whether or not you want to send the PDF. So you can attach internal documents. Just keep in mind if you do select to send PDFs, those internal documents will be sent to the customer. But for now, let's go ahead and click Save and Issue.